65%. That's how much of Egypt's entire national budget goes to paying off debt. Not hospitals, not schools, not roads. Debt. And it gets worse. The one thing keeping Egypt afloat just lost 60% of its revenue overnight. The Suez Canal isn't just a waterway, it's Egypt's oxygen line. Every year, roughly 20,000 ships pass through that narrow strip of water, and Egypt collects a toll on every single one. In 2023, that added up to nearly $10 billion, making the canal the country's single largest source of hard foreign currency. More than tourism, more than exports. If this kind of hidden economic story matters to you, hit subscribe now. We cover the mechanisms behind the headlines. Then, in late 2023, Yemen's Houthi rebels started targeting commercial vessels in the Red Sea. The attacks were relentless rockets, drones, suicide boats. Within weeks, the world's largest shipping companies made a calculation. The risk of passing through wasn't worth it. Maersk, MSC, CMA, CGM. One by one, they rerouted south, adding 2 weeks and thousands of dollars to every voyage. And Egypt? Egypt watched its canal revenue collapse by 60% in a matter of months. Nearly $6 billion gone. But this isn't just a bad year for a government department. This is a structural wound, and the country was already bleeding. Here's the part that rarely makes it into the financial press. Egypt's military doesn't just defend the country, it runs the country. Economists estimate the armed forces control somewhere between 40 and 60% of Egypt's entire GDP, a figure the government never officially confirms, which is itself the point. We're talking about cement plants, steel mills, five-star hotels, pasta factories, fish farms, fuel stations, bottled water. The Egyptian military doesn't compete with the private sector. It is the private sector. The consequence? Every time a foreign company tries to enter Egypt, it's competing against an institution that doesn't need to turn a profit, doesn't pay taxes on military-linked enterprises, and has the full weight of the state behind it. Private businesses suffocate, foreign investment retreats, and the economy hollows out from the inside. This isn't corruption in the conventional sense. It's a system deliberately designed this way. The military's economic empire gives it leverage over the civilian government, over parliament, over any reformer who might try to change the equation. The generals don't need politics when they own the economy. Now here's the question you should be asking. If the military controls this much of the economy, where does all that revenue go? Because it certainly isn't going to Egypt's debt payments. That burden falls on the Egyptian state, the civilian government, the treasury, the ordinary citizen. And by 2024, that government had accumulated $153 billion in external debt. To put that into perspective, that's more than Egypt's entire annual economic output. Keep watching, because what happens to that debt is where this story turns genuinely alarming. Egypt has gone to the International Monetary Fund 5 times since 2016. 5 times. Each loan comes with conditions: devalue the currency, cut subsidies, raise interest rates, open markets. Each time, the Egyptian pound loses more ground. Each time, inflation spikes. Each time, ordinary Egyptians get poorer in real terms while the debt keeps growing. Subscribe if you want to understand the mechanics behind these IMF cycles. We've covered this pattern across 4 continents. By 2024, Egypt was spending 65% of its government revenue just on servicing that debt interest payments and principal repayments. That means for every $100 the Egyptian government collects in taxes and fees, $65 never reaches a single school, hospital, or road. The social infrastructure shows it. Public hospitals function with chronic shortages of basic medicines. Schools operate with crumbling classrooms. Roads in major cities deteriorate for years without repair. And the IMF keeps lending. And Egypt keeps borrowing. And the spiral keeps tightening. Now add a food crisis on top of all of this. Egypt is the world's largest wheat importer. Roughly 60% of the wheat that feeds 105 million people comes from abroad. And for years, the cheapest, most reliable source was Russia and Ukraine. Then came February 2022. Russia invaded Ukraine. Global wheat prices spiked 60% almost overnight. Egypt's government, which subsidizes bread for tens of millions of citizens, suddenly faced an import bill it couldn't cover with a currency that was simultaneously collapsing. Bread riots have ended Egyptian governments before. Mubarak knew it. El-Sisi knows it. The subsidy has to hold, but the money to fund it is running out. And somewhere in Cairo, officials are watching a precedent unfold on the other side of the world. In 2022, Sri Lanka defaulted on its foreign debt. Fuel ran out. Medicines disappeared. Citizens stormed the presidential palace. The president fled the country. Sound familiar? The parallels are not comfortable. Sri Lanka, 60% of revenue to debt service before collapse. Egypt, 65%. Sri Lanka, heavily dependent on a single foreign currency earner that disappeared. Egypt, the Suez Canal, down 60%. Sri Lanka, IMF borrowing cycle, 5 bailouts. Egypt, 5 bailouts. This is the part they don't want printed in the financial columns. Egypt isn't just economically stressed, it's structurally trapped. The IMF's latest deal, signed in 2024, unlocks another $8 billion, but demands more currency devaluation and subsidy cuts. The exact policies that have historically triggered social unrest in a country with a population that is 40% below the poverty line and rising food prices every year. So here's what it all adds up to. Egypt is not on the edge of collapse today, but it's one shock away a second Suez disruption, a military miscalculation, a drought in the Nile Basin, a run on the pound. The architecture of crisis is already in place. The only question is which brick gets pulled out first, and whether, when it happens, the world will notice in time to care. If this gave you a clearer picture of how fragile things really are, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden mechanics of the global economy. Drop a comment, where do you think Egypt is headed?